So you got Monster Hunter Rise, and now obviously the first thing that's coming up to your mind is, what weapon do I pick? Don't worry, I've got you covered. Let's go. So whenever I introduced a friend to Monster Hunter, they would always have the same question, what weapon do I pick? So this is a very important question, because I've noticed over the years that whenever they picked up a weapon that's quite hard to start in the beginning, they would end up dropping the game after a few hours. We don't want that to happen to you. This was because they did not grasp the mechanics of those weapons, therefore making even the easiest hunts take a very long time. In this video, I'll give you the top 5 weapons that you should pick up if you're new to Monster Hunter. This does not mean that you shouldn't pick up another weapon that you liked, but I advise you to do so later after you familiarize with most of the mechanics in the game. With that out of the way, let's start. Number 5. Hunting Horn. For those who played Monster Hunter before, this may seem like a very strange pick, but do bear with me. With the introduction of Monster Hunter Rise, the Hunting Horn has received a complete overhaul, making the weapon very beginner friendly, especially compared to the previous titles. The Hunting Horn is a weapon that is able to buff yourself and your team with the use of songs. These can be played by pressing the same button twice, automatically providing the buff. However, there is a way of activating your buffs all at once. Press the X, A and XA buttons in sequence and you get the prompt to use the Magnificent Trio. You can activate it pressing ZR plus X, which plays all the available songs in the list and provides all the buffs. There is also a bar that can be filled up by hitting the monster that allows you to activate the Hunting Horn's most powerful song, the Infernal Melody. With this, you can use the Hunting Horn following a very simple routine. Hit the buttons to activate the Magnificent Trio, then fill the Hunting Horn bar, and finally you can activate the Infernal Melody, and then you can rinse and repeat this process. Also, with the Hunting Horn being an impact weapon, this means that you should be hitting the monster's head to land a KO, which is a big opening you'll create where the monster is lying on the floor. Your friends will thank you for it, since not only will be buffing them, but you will also be creating big openings for everyone to attack. To help you decide if the Hunting Horn is a weapon for you, here are the pros and cons. Starting with the pros, the first one is that it buffs the whole team, so your friends will love you for it. The second one is KO potential, so you'll be pretty much creating openings throughout the hunt for yourself and your friends. So the third one is decent mobility, especially with the self-improvement song. And the last one is that it's very powerful if you land your hits consistently. Starting with the cons, different Hunting Horns have different songs, so you'll have to figure out and see which Hunting Horns actually provide the buffs that you want. The second one is that some moves can make you open to monsters' attacks, so you need to pick wisely when's the best time to use them. So the next con is that the Hunting Horn being an impact weapon, you need to be focusing your attacks only in the head, so in that sense it's less flexible when compared to other weapons. And last but not least, you cannot practically cut tails with this weapon, so if you're hunting solo, you won't be able to do that. Coming next is one of the most popular weapons in Monster Hunter. Number 4. The Longsword. The Longsword is a weapon in Monster Hunter that makes you feel like a samurai. It offers cool animations as well as strong damage output if played right. The normal combos are pretty straightforward, but there is a catch. You need to use these to fill up the spirit gauge. Filling up the spirit gauge allows you to buff the Longsword when you hit the last move of the spirit combo, which you can use by tapping the ZR button repeatedly. There are 3 buff levels. These are white, yellow and red. To maximize the weapon's damage, you should keep the red buff at all times, since these buffs deplete over time. You can maintain the red buff by hitting the last move of the spirit combo again. This might sound like it's a lot to get on board, but the weapon does give you a very simple routine. You start out by filling up the spirit gauge and then executing the spirit combo. Then you repeat this until you reach the red buff and maintain it. It does not take long to get used to this mechanic, and when you do, it becomes very easy to use. Starting with the pros, it is a weapon with very high damage output, especially when you're able to maintain the red buff. It is a weapon with very good reach, so this makes it easy to cut tails. Not to mention, it has very cool animations. And finally, it's very easy to learn once you get used to the spirit mechanic. Looking at the cons, the first one is that the spirit combo is a high risk move, so you can only use it when the monster gives you a decent opening. And the last con is that you need a considerable amount of time before you can reach the red buff. Number 3. Dual Blades. The Dual Blades was my weapon of choice when I started playing Monster Hunter. The reason is simple. It dishes out insane elemental damage if the monster is weak to that element. You can also go for a critical damage build, since this is a fast hitting weapon. The mechanic that comes with the dual blades is also easy to understand, but it can be a bit tricky to master when starting out. It works by activating the demon mode pressing ZR. Demon mode increases your damage output and changes your moveset to a more fluid and powerful one. However, it continuously drains your stamina. There is another payoff to using the demon mode, which is reaching archdemon mode. You achieve this by attacking the monster and filling up the bar in the top left corner of the screen. This mode gives you the moveset of the demon mode, without the stamina consumption. It might sound daunting at first, but it's quite simple once you learn to keep an eye on your stamina. What also facilitates using this weapon is the high mobility it provides, with the exception of the use of Demon Dance, which is a powerful move, but one that has a long animation. You activate Demon Mode when there are decent openings, to allow you to fill up the bar, and then you maintain the bar filled to keep Archdemon Mode active at all times. So let's start looking at the pros. So the Dual Blaze is a weapon with very high mobility, so this allows you to escape from the monster's attacks quite easily. Next off, it is a weapon with very high elemental and critical damage output. Also, it's great in applying status ailments like poison. And lastly, the weapon mechanic is fairly simple. And now let's look at the cons. So to start, this is a weapon that loses sharpness very quickly. In addition, stamina management can be tricky, although there are certain items in the game that can help you with it. And lastly, this is a weapon with very short reach, so it requires you to be up close to the monster. Number 2. Lightbow Gun. So here's the weapon that's perfect for those who enjoy shooters. The Lightbow Gun is a ranged weapon that offers amazing mobility and different ammo types that allow you to hunt using multiple strategies. But in essence, there are only 3 aspects that you need to think about: critical distance, ammo types, and wyvern blasts. Critical distance is the distance that you should be from the monster at all times in order to deal the optimal amount of damage. To know if you're within the distance, you only need to check if the reticle is orange. In terms of ammo types, there is a variety of them, and it depends on each light bowgun what ammo types you can use. It also offers a mechanic called rapid fire that allows you to shoot 3 shots for the price of 1 ammunition. The last tool in the arsenal is wyvern blasts. These are kind of claymores that you set on the floor, and any attack done on top of them triggers an explosion, doing very good damage. Overall, these are the things that make the light bowgun a great beginner weapon. Good amount of tools with astounding mobility. Becoming good at judging your distance to the monster can make you a very hard target to hit. Now let's start looking at the pros. So the first one is good variety of tools available depending on the ammos that are available on each light bowgun. It can also be used to apply status ailments, which makes it a very good support weapon. Additionally, and like we've said before, it possesses amazing mobility. Also, you can use sticky ammo to KO monsters, kinda like we've explained in the hunting horn section. And lastly, it's very easy to learn. So now let's look at the cons. So this weapon has very low raw damage compared to other weapons, but you can compensate this with rapid fire and effective use of wyvern blasts. And lastly, ammo can be quite expensive in the early game. And now with number 1, Sword and Shield. Now this is the simplest weapon in the game. No gauges, no special flashy moves, just a weapon that you can pick up and play. You might be thinking though, it must be pretty weak, and that is far from the truth. The Sword and Shield is definitely one of the most flexible weapons in the game, almost like a Swiss army knife. It gives you fast combos, moves that can propel you to the air, and a shield to block attacks that also has the ability to KO the monster. There's also a special mechanic that no other weapon has access to, using items without having to sheath the weapon. It might seem insignificant, but that time save can save your life in some situations. The combos also have small animation times, which means it's easy to be reactive to the monster's moves. So let's look at the pros of the Sword and Shield. So it starts by giving out a very good variety of tools, and also being able to use items while the weapon is out is extremely valuable. In addition, it's very good for elemental damage and status ailments, and lastly, it's extremely easy to learn. So now let's look at the cons of the Sword and Shield. So first off, you won't have a mechanic to maximize your damage output like any other weapon, and also it's a weapon with very short reach. So let me know in the comments below what weapon you ended up picking. Also, if you've played Monster Hunter before, let me know what your top 5 is. I will do more Monster Hunter videos for beginners and also provide you with some very good useful tools. So don't forget to like, subscribe and click the bell icon to get notifications on my next video. Thank you very much for watching.